Hey, friends, welcome back to Marketing with Empathy. Today, we're diving into a topic that impacts millions of women but isn't talked about nearly enough in the marketing world: perimenopause and menopause. Joining me are Dr. Kat Brown, a board certified OBGYN and menopause expert, and Brooke Matthews, the marketing lead at Winona, a telemedicine company focused on helping women navigate this powerful phase of life with more clarity, confidence, and care. We're unpacking the fears, symptoms, and stigma surrounding menopause, and more importantly, what brands need to understand if you want to connect with women going through this stage. Spoiler alert, it's not just about hot flashes. We're talking brain fog, anxiety spikes, identity shifts, and more. You'll hear tips on how to message your products or services with empathy, what not to do, and how to simplify your customer experience to serve these women better. Welcome to Marketing with Empathy, the podcast for brands that want to target and engage moms. Moms influence or control 85% of all household purchases, making them a lucrative market to figure out. But many brands struggle to connect with moms through their content. Even if moms aren't your only audience, they're a critical one to figure out for so many brands. I'm your host, Sarah Panus, and I have more than 20 years of experience working with big brands to small brands, including Sleep Number, SheFit, American Express, Starbucks, LegalZoom, and more. So tune in here for ideas that'll get your products and services into the hands of more moms who need them, so your brand can effectively reach more moms and drive those all-important sales and leads. Thanks to your support, this podcast is in the top 5% of all podcasts and a proud member of the Marketing Podcast Network. So let's hear from today's sponsors and then jump right into the show. Okay, Dr. Kat, you're the expert on women's health during menopause and the time frame before menopause, which is called perimenopause. You told me that the average woman goes through menopause around the age of 51, and then around the decade before that is when early symptoms start, which is known as perimenopause. So we're going to dig into this and what brands can know about women who are going through this stage of their life. So a lot of women going through this stage of their life, and how we can help understand them and support them and better serve them. So I guess my first question is around what fears and worries do women have during this time that you see?
I think the biggest thing is that a lot of women fear what this means for their health, what this means for their future, and really how things are changing in their life overall. And a lot of women during this time, especially during perimenopause leading up to the change, a lot of women they struggle even with recognizing that this is actually what's happening. You start having so many symptoms hit you from so many directions, while at the same time in midlife, you're probably juggling your career, you're juggling kids, maybe aging parents. And so you're kind of caught in the middle. And I don't know about you, but almost every woman I know in midlife is one of those people who's taking care of everybody else in their life. And suddenly when they start experiencing all these things, one of the big worries and struggles they have is, how are they going to do it all? Like, how are they going to be able to multitask and manage and take care of themselves while still maintaining that same level of their professional life as well as their home life, all those sorts of things. So I think that's one of the biggest things.
Got it. It makes total sense. And I would say I fall into this camp. I'm in my mid 40s, so I guess I'm in that age range of perimenopause potentially. And I've had some discussions with my doctor recently where I'm like, is this starting? To your point, there's questions like, is this normal? Is this just part of getting older? Or is this tied to something else? You do have those worries, and what does that mean? What kind of menopause misconceptions or stigmas do women face?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that as a society, we don't value women as much as they age, right? That's one of the biggest things. But I think another stigma too is that a lot of women are afraid to seek treatment because they're afraid of what risk it may pose to them. They're afraid to recognize really that this is what's actually happening. So I think that we tend to rationalize and we tend to explain away some of the early symptoms and some of the things that are happening. And we don't really recognize that it's actually, this is what's going on. And even myself, I feel like when I started going through having symptoms, I chalked it up to stress. I chalked it up to other things. We tend to be kind of self-destructive in that way. And so I think that anybody that really is appealing to women in this age group, one of the primary things we do at Winona is to try to educate and to try to get information out there just so that we help women through this struggle and this journey.
Brooke, anything you'd add? Do you see from your content marketing work that you're doing online and across the board for the company?
We have a Facebook group. We call it the Winona Women's Facebook group, and it has about 23K women in it right now. And we see some come through just all the time of we're not really knowing what to expect. So like Dr. Kat says, things start hitting them, symptoms hitting them from like all around, and they don't know what to expect, especially when it comes around HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and the risks and benefits of that.
Okay, Dr. Kat, can you top line those key stages of what are the symptoms of perimenopause and then what happens in menopause and how that impacts a woman's body as well as her mental health during this time frame?
Symptoms that women start to experience are very subtle. I mean, like one of the biggest ones we see is brain fog, some cognitive decline, memory issues, and then that also can evolve into sleep issues. And that's a huge issue for the productivity of women, especially professional women. So suddenly they may have always slept wonderfully all of their life, and sometimes now they're having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. Later on, they start to notice some mood swings and some maybe changes as far as their tolerance of other people or their children or their partners. So women that are prone to or maybe have had a history of depression or anxiety, that tends to get exacerbated in perimenopause too. And so huge mood swings and fluctuations. And then also the periods start to get really irregular. So if you were regular like clockwork and had a cycle that was pretty on the market, every 28 days, every 30 days, and suddenly you might skip a month or you might have two periods in a month. And can you imagine, when you're trying to live your best life and you're trying to plan around that, suddenly you feel like a teenager again, not knowing when to anticipate or expect it. And then we start to see vasomotor symptoms, more like the hot flashes and night sweats tend to come a little bit later. But there's so many other symptoms that can affect women. We see changes in their skin and their hair. We start to see changes in the joints. So a lot of women will develop joint pains and achiness. It's really fundamentally, it all comes down to the loss of estrogen from our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how many places in our bodies that the estrogen is really key for optimal functioning. And so when we start to see the estrogen declining, we start to see all these negative effects.
Mm-hmm.
But if we really wanted to list a comprehensive list of symptoms, we could probably list over 100.
Wow.
The most common ones that most women will experience, it's about 30 to 40. And so there's so many more that we could talk about, but those are the big hitters that I think that a lot of women will start to see.
I see this come across in the women's group so much. All of a sudden anxiety or an uptick in anxiety and depression, like they don't really know where it came from. Like they talk about that a lot, and we see a lot of women connecting over that shared experience of that symptom as well.
And I think it overall leads to a sense of a loss of control and a loss of sense of self for a lot of women too. And that is really disruptive to anyone that could be going through it. I think that can affect women greatly.
You mentioned there can be changes in skin and hair as well. Like what generally happens with skin and hair with that loss of estrogen during this time?
So skin loses its elasticity and moisture. The skin becomes thinner overall. So this can affect the skin overall in our body, but also in our vulvar and vaginal tissues as well. And so overall dryness and just loss of the suppleness and elasticity of the skin. So that's why some women will start to notice more changes of aging too. So the development of wrinkles, the sagging skin, and no longer feeling like that nice taut barrier on your skin. Mm-hmm. And then the hair can become more brittle. But also for us as women, we're especially prone to changes in our hair with any sort of big hormone fluctuation. So, pregnancy and postpartum can also cause changes in the hair and loss of hair. Same thing happens with perimenopause and menopause. And then with the loss of hormone, and then if you go on treatment and then start hormone replacement therapy, then that can cause more hair changes. Mm-hmm. But generally the hair becomes more dry, more brittle, less manageable, and thinning too. So the hair on your head can become more thin and difficult to manage with the loss of estrogen.
Well, dang, right? No wonder women have concerns. That's the last thing we want to deal with as we're getting older, isn't it? Exactly. Oh boy. Okay. So there's so many things here, right? As brands, as you're listening, think about how you can help women going through this, because we all go through it eventually. And so there's so much that we can get help and support on along the way. So what do you think then are key things that marketers really need to understand about women as they're going through menopause? Key elements of if they're talking about their products or services, and just as they're helping them deal with all of these symptoms, as an example, emotional or physical, what should we know as marketers?
I think that you need to be relatable to your key audience. I think that despite women going through all this, I think that they want to hear from voices that they trust. I think that they want to hear from other women. They're going to be more likely to believe and understand someone who is one of their peers who's also been through it. I think that's another big thing too. Because if you have, I don't know, a young, beautiful 20-something-year-old telling her, I understand what you're going through, or or a man.
Right.
And just thinking about like our society as a whole having origins in a very paternalistic type of way, you want to put your best foot forward. And I think that you would want to make sure that you use the female leaders or whoever you can in your company that, and if you're going to have ads or something to target women, that you're using women in your outreach, and so that women feel more relatable to them. I think that's important. Wouldn't you say, Brooke?
Yeah, and I think also, especially when it comes to women's health, especially in the perimenopause, menopause time of their lives, it's important to remember that for so long, up until recently, women haven't been thought of to help, haven't been heard, haven't been listened to about what they are experiencing, been told they're crazy. So keep that in mind and really listen to, look at your comments in your DMs. What are they asking? What are they wanting to know? What are they needing to know? And really expounding on that because they'll tell you. I think it'd be
I
shocking to
think so.
everybody to see the amount of people, even by their in-person doctors, people's friends not even acknowledging what they're going through either. This is where Winona is bridging the gap.
You mentioned how until recently, people maybe they were brushed off as you're crazy, you don't have these symptoms. Is that common, do you think? I'm curious, Dr. Ket, as you see
Yeah.
patients and as you talk with women,
Yes.
are we as women hesitant to share our symptoms? Are we less forthcoming? What do you see?
I don't know if it's necessarily taboo, but I think there's just not been time or space given to it. Up until recently, I feel like it's not been given a proper venue. Even when you go in for your annual visit to your doctor in person, you might have 15 minutes with the doctor at most to talk
Yeah.
about what's going on in your year and in your health. And that has to include a physical exam too. Like the way that our healthcare is set up in this country, you don't have a lot of face-to-face time and one-on-one time to really talk. I think that's making women take matters into their own hands and to do research into alternate venues. And like Brooke said, that's how telemedicine overall is really bringing service to these patients because we're able to fill that gap. And I think that's important to know. But yeah, I think that not a lot of credence and time or effort or value has been given into really giving women a forum for this to really talk about this. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm glad we're doing this forum here today and talking about
Yeah.
it so brands can think about it. Dr. Kat, when you and I talked before this interview, you had also brought up a couple other things that I want to add as well that are important for us as marketers to understand is and how we can better reach these women, which is keep it simplified, make it simplified. As women, as moms, we're always juggling. It's a big juggling act of all the things we're going through, which you
Yes.
started with Dr. Kat talking about this phase in life and your career and what you're working through, and you have your family, and maybe you have aging parents. Like there's that whole mix of the juggling act. So the more simplified we can make it, it will be of better use and service for
Mhm.
these women, and just doing something that makes life easier for them to help them will go a long way during this time frame as well.
Because ultimately, if you're trying to sell a product or offer something to a group of women that's supposed to help them, and you really want to target that, you want to make it aesthetically pleasing to them. I think that's number one. But I think keeping it simplistic, making it more about them and how it can improve their life, I think is huge. And I think that something that they can incorporate easily.
And I think too, with staying consistent for them so they know where they can go when they're ready. We have live Q&As every month. Women know that they can come and they can ask doctors live questions, and we have that now 2 times a month. And so we have these spaces to include them, to give them the space to ask the questions so they can get the answers that they need, and they know that we're there to help them through whatever they're going through.
And what about everyone listening that works in a company environment with other people? How can workplaces become more menopause friendly?
Yeah. So, really allowing women to have flexibility in their work and also allowing, I think, time off or resources or coverage for the medical care that a woman would need during this time. As a company, we saw this as a huge gap. And so, as a company, started going into larger corporations and offering them training on this and how to make their company more menopause friendly. And when you think about it, especially if you have a female CEO or CFO of your company who is really such a pivotal person in making your company work. And then suddenly she's going through all these struggles, and all the struggles and symptoms along with it are really associated with a lot of time off as far as like work missed, loss of productivity. Because if you don't have insurance coverage to get the care that you need, or you don't have the time to be able to fit in lifestyle changes that you need to make your world better during this transition, how can you be the best version of yourself professionally? You can't.
I love that. And for your corporate wellness training that you do, is it virtual? Is it in person? Like, what area of the country do you serve and do those for?
It's kind of a newer venture that we've been doing, I think, in the last year or so, right, Brooke?
Yeah.
I think they've done both. We've done some in person and some virtual, but that's something that's another part of our project as a company that kind of goes along with our mission into improving lives for women.
I just pulled up from our women's group a poll that we took. So, which type of support would you find most beneficial for navigating menopause in the workplace? And 67% of the women, they said flexible work hours, especially because menopause symptoms, they aren't going to hit at convenient times. And so that was actually something that women said would help the most.
It's such an interesting comment too, because right now, as we're recording this, we're post-COVID. There were so many people who were working from home and had very flexible work hours, mostly, right? And then now there's this big push for people to go back into the office, and there's a lot of moms that were like, "This is hard, man." And so thinking about it from, in fact, of hormonally, if your body is going through all of these things that you need to also deal with, like from a health perspective, that's a huge reason to think about flexible work hours. So thank you, Brooke, for sharing the results from that poll. It's so interesting and so critical. If you hire moms or if you're trying to target moms, like obviously you need to think about this topic. It's really important to help from both scenarios. I love it. Okay, so what final advice then do you guys have for anything else you haven't mentioned for brands that are trying to reach women that are going through perimenopause or menopause? Anything else you would add?
I feel like we love what we do so much at Winona. It's really a fun topic for us about helping women. I would emphasize listening to them, going in different forums, seeing what they're talking about. You'll be able to get a really good idea of what they're needing, where there's gaps that you could fill, and brainstorming through that as well.
When I think about marketing and I think about how to reach women, I mean, I'm a doctor. I have like zero experience with marketing.
Yeah.
But I'm on the receiving end of it all the time, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a busy mom and as a doctor and trying to juggle work and home and career, I'm bombarded with ads and things all the time. I feel anything that's really busy, that's super in my face, if it doesn't appeal to me as a person, I'm immediately turned off by it. And so I feel like that's important to take into account. Make sure you have a woman in the target demographic that you're trying to appeal to on your design team, like on your marketing team. I think that's huge. And if you don't have the ability to do that, do focus groups or try to do something to get ideas that you feel would appeal to this target audience, and making it easy for me as a mom. If I have downtime, and for me as an obstetrician, the time I see the most ads is when I'm waiting for a baby to deliver and I'm outside of a hospital room and I'm scrolling, and it has to be something quick and easy for me to watch and to look at. That's when I make my impulse buys and decisions about my own life. And so we want to make it easy and digestible for women, I think, as much as possible.
It's so that I love that example because you can just visualize. I mean, that's like the epitome of busyness. You're going to literally help birth life into the world, and you're waiting, and so you're like on your phone. And what is that experience like? And it echoes what we've heard from other experts on this show too, just in terms of as moms, we're always juggling multiple things, whether we're no matter where we are. It's just what we do.
Yes.
And we have to make it as marketers, we have to make it, guys, simple. The experience, like online, could be really clear about how we're communicating the problem we're solving, how we're going to help them. So she knows, is this for me? Isn't this for me? What's it going to do? And then like from a checkout experience, if it's online or in person, that has to be really simple too, because I can picture you, Dr. Cat, outside. You say impulse buys. You made those probably with the ones that obviously was really clear. And then you were able to
Yes.
probably just with a couple clicks buy it, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
which is
Yeah.
key for moms. Like that's how you get us to buy more, is if you can like check those boxes for us and then we can move on. Otherwise, in your case, you may be like, you're going to go deliver a baby. You're going to forget all about whatever the heck that thing was, perhaps. Or as moms, we might be, making dinner and helping our kids with homework, and we're trying to like do something with work. Like there's throwing the load of laundry in while we're in between like meetings. Like there's always so many different things that we all are working on no matter where we're at.
Ads I detest the most are the clickbait ones that keep taking you to one other screen, to one other screen, to another website. And then if I'm 2 or 3 minutes in to having to click to multiple things, I'm so done and I will never look at it again.
Yep, I agree. This was wonderful. I appreciate the focus on this topic and giving us your expert perspective of how we can all better serve and understand what women are going through during these time frames. Tell us, whichever one of you wants to do this, but I would just tell us a little bit more about Winona, the work that you guys
Mhm.
are doing there, and then also how people can connect with you online.
Sure. Winona is an online telemedicine company that's dedicated to the care of women going through perimenopause. Specifically, we offer hormone therapy that's bioidentical, and women can bypass the need to have to go to the doctor's office, wait in a pharmacy line. When they get care directly from our site, the medications are shipped directly to their house. And so it's really a convenient thing. And so many of our patients have not been able to get care, and we really bridge that gap for women who don't have access to get the care that they need. We're bringing care directly to them in their home for low
Interesting.
risk women. Yeah.
What is bioidentical? So the hormone
Oh,
replacement you're giving
sure.
them is identical to what their body naturally creates? Is
Yes,
that what that means?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So much of what you can get from a prescription from your in person doctor that's FDA approved and at your pharmacy are synthetically made hormones that are made in a lab, big pharma. But in general, bioidentical means that the compound itself of these hormones is identical to what your body was creating on its own. For women, for human female women, we have three basic estrogens in our body: estradiol, estriol, and estrone. And then we make progesterone as well, and testosterone in our bodies. So generally, you want to give back those same hormones that your body's utilizing. Birth control hormone, on the other hand, these are synthetic hormones. They're not the same as what our body would produce, which is why they work. They suppress our body and suppress our cycles and prevent ovulations. When it comes to treating menopause, we're giving back hormones that a woman's body needs to function more optimally. And it's the same hormones that they were creating on their own. We're not trying to control or suppress. We're adding back what they're no longer creating in adequate amounts.
Mm. And so any woman in the US can be part of this because it's telemedicine, or do you serve just specific geographical locations in the country?
We're across the United States, but each
Okay.
state has their own telemedicine laws. And so
Okay.
I want to say we're in 33 or 34 states now. But in 2021, we were only in 3 states. So we're fastly growing.
Tell us the places that they can find you.
Sure.
What's the best spots?
The biggest thing I would encourage women to learn about perimenopause and menopause, or even the marketers that are listening to the podcast, they can come right to our website at winona.com. It's winona.com. Just to learn, we have a lot of resources and educational material, a medical journal section of our page as well, where they can read articles about these topics, about the common symptoms. There's so many free resources available on there. And if they themselves are seeking care, there's an area of the website where you can actually go through our onboarding questionnaire and give your medical history and your information to see if you're a good candidate for care. Brooke, why don't you say about all the different social media
Yeah.
venues that we have a presence on as well?
Yeah, we're on all platforms. You can find us at by Winona. And then Dr. Cat has a profile as well. It's Dr. Cat OBGYN. Also, come join our women's group. There's just so much support, amazing discussions, fun activities and events. Like we're about to start a book club, and we're doing meetups too to help women in their communities make more connections with other women going through similar things.
And the women's group was that Facebook group that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, Winona Women's Group. email me if you have any questions. Brooke, Brooke, at bywinona.com.
I'll make sure I drop links to all of these into the show notes, everyone. It's a great example, too, on your site at winona.com. All of the content that you're sharing, it's a great way to create that connection with women and answer those questions and help ease that transition and just help them understand what's going on, suffering in silence or thinking that something's wrong with them that they can't fix. Great example there, too. Is there anything else that I should ask you about but I haven't yet that you want to add to the conversation?
Well, for any women that are listening, my big plug at the end of almost every podcast is just learn about your body, like learn as much as you can about your health and how your body works and educate yourself. And as patients, and even for men or women listening, you have to take ownership of your own health and you have to be the captain of that ship. Like you have to drive change in your own life and in your own body. If you ever go to a medical professional and you don't feel seen or heard, go to another one, get another opinion. You're very important and you only get one body that you live in. And so you need to take the best care of yourself that you can. Knowledge is power, educate yourself and advocate for yourself and your family members. I think it's really important.
Whew, wasn't that eye-opening? Huge thanks to Dr. Kat and Brooke for shedding light on what women really go through during perimenopause and menopause, and how brands can be more supportive, more inclusive, and more effective in how we show up. If you want to learn more or explore resources for your brand or yourself, head over to bywinona.com. And definitely check out the Winona Women's Facebook group. It's a vibrant, supportive community full of real talk and helpful info. You can also follow Dr. Kat on Instagram at Dr. Kat OBGYN. And ladies listening, remember, as Dr. Kat said, advocate for yourself, learn about your body, and as marketers, let's do a better job helping women feel seen, heard, and supported. Until next week, God bless.